Hello everyone and welcome to round 3 PSGL here in Japan, Suzuka. One of my favourite tracks, one of the iconic tracks on the Formula 1 calendar as well. And of course starting the video in Q1 and our first lap puts us provisionally into P3, and that ultimately would have been good enough to get us through anyway. We did go out for a second run, but ultimately we did not need that second lap anyway. But this is my first run in Q2 on the worn tyre, and I just wanted to show you this little bit of snap overs here because it was quite dramatic. But now actually starting our first proper push lap with new sets of tyres in Q2 here as well. And yeah, Japan is a bit of a strange track on this year's game. There's quite a lot of bumps down the straight, so you're going to see us like weaving, ducking left and right on the straight to try and avoid these bumps so the car doesn't bottom out and cause friction, and that will of course cause a lot of time down the straights as well. So yeah, keeping the action nice and tightly packed in this video, so getting really quickly into Q2 and through the first sector has been pretty nice. We really have not slid the rear tyre, and on this year's game sliding the rear tyre can cause quite a lot of time loss from the friction that it will generate and the lack of speed therefore after, as we come into the second sector underneath the bridge. A bit of rear wiggle as we're coming now into the hairpin. We hook it up beautifully, get a nice traction, and we're all the way out of the corner up into 6th, 7th gear, arriving to Spoon Curve, and this is going to be a really critical corner to hook up down to 6th initially, let the car rotate, use up as much track as possible. Then we pick up a bit of understeer on the second part of the corner, and now we hang the car further right on the straight than usual, just trying to avoid the bumps down the straight as well. And you can see in the middle sector split we do a 10.2, what is pretty decent, to be honest. It's pretty nice, but we still need to do a good final chicane where we can make up so much time into the first apex. A bit of understeer, second apex, a little bit of understeer again, but was pretty sweet because the traction was sublime and open up the DRS. Run to the line, provisionally P2 again, and we're not going to go out for another lap. We retire so we can save a set of tyres for the Q3 lap, but we have to get through the session.
We're safe.
And
we're safe because of Cowton.
Yeah, we just about made it through.
Okay.
We were in P10 in this session, but we did make it through by half a tenth. Well, sounds like not a lot, but in how competitive this field is, half a tenth is normally what separates 5 positions in qualifying. So we was relatively on time, pretty comfortable, but in position not really that comfortable. But nevertheless, we're in Q3 here now with 2 sets of tyres and our first lap running up to the line. We're gonna go P2 again, provisionally anyway, with a 4:04 across the line with a purple final sector. But this is where it really counts. The final lap of qualifying defines our grid position for this track that is harder than most to overtake on. Down the start finish line, avoid the bumps. You can see putting to the left, gaining a little bit of time on the delta because of that. Turn 1, flip the car in, let the car rotate down to 4, pick up good rotation, back on the power, lovely jubbly. Through the left, use the curb, on the right, avoid the curb, keep the car as much in the middle of the track as possible, and then through the left hander, down to 5th, through the right, and then rising up over the hill. A bit tight here, a bit unoptimal as we didn't get our racing line completely perfect, but we can't do anything about that now. Flat out, Degner 1 into Degner 2, down to 4th gear, kiss the curb on the inside for a bit of rotation, pretty nice traction as well. Into the hairpin, critical to not lock up, but that's exactly what we do. We run right, and we do not get the rotation. And really, my last lap was not ideal through there, so we've lost about a tenth through that one corner alone compared to what we should and could have been doing. Into Spoon Curve, we send it in, a bit too much curb on the inside, unoptimal, not fast, not smooth. We're not delivering the lap time, we're not delivering our potential. Keep to the right to avoid the bumps on the straight one more time, and as you're going to see, we're going to have to absolutely send it through the final chicane to try and recover any fathomable amount of valuable lap time here in Q3. Nice through the chicane, made up a bit of time, running up to the line. We're going to improve, but how much by? Just under half a tenth, and we go into P6.
Yeah, I lost a lot
But yeah, quite disappointing to be honest. We could have been I say easily. Of course, if it was easy, I would have done it. But we could have been a tenth faster, what would be putting us around P3, P4 on the grid. So good potential. My best qualifying yet of the game, especially to be consistently up there in the top positions in qualifying, was very satisfying. And I look to carry that momentum forward into future races. But here in the race, starting on the hard compound tyre, and it is very difficult to get these tyres working in the opening laps of the race. So how's our launch? Our launch is pretty stable. We don't really lose that much compared to the medium runners, but Pookie is coming like a train behind us on those fresh set of mediums. But we're able to hold track position as Jarno looks around the outside of us, but nothing doing there. He's on the hard tyre as well, so going to be struggling for grip as well as we will be.
How critical is it to fight the medium runners?
So you asked me how, well, you can hear me asking how critical it is to fight the medium runners in the opening laps, and the answer is very. Any track position that we can hold in these situations will become extremely valuable to us as the race unfolds. Thomas, my teammate up ahead, is the only car ahead of us on the hard compound tyres. Jarno is the next car behind us on the hard compound tyres as well. Pookie looks up the inside, but we're just able to brake late enough to allow him not to get alongside us, and we're able to hold the track position. But yeah, Jarno is the car behind us on the hards, and then Lucas is the other car on hard behind Jarno, who's a few more cars behind. So we're in a solid position at the moment, but we need to make sure that we do not lose time overly fighting the medium runners at the moment, but in doing so, do not become a sitting duck for them in these opening sections of the race as well.
If you just get info on like the cars around,
yeah, you can hear me ask my engineer just to keep me updated on battery levels, because it's so easy to drain the battery around Suzuka here and to over deploy it and then have nothing left for the remainder of the lap for the race, and just leave yourself vulnerable down the final sector and opening sector 1 as well. Lap 3 here, you can see we're halfway down on our battery because we've been trying to manage the gap to Pookie as much as possible, but of course on those medium compound tyres he's going to be coming at us very fast indeed across the line, and he actually does the fastest lap of the race, so that is going to be difficult to withstand from him in these opening segments as well. Through the chicane, you can see he's all over the back of us. We do not have that much battery left, so we're going to use what we have down the straight, but we're not really going to defend that hard. We're going to offer him the inside, mainly because I don't want to be on the inside here if we're going side by side. Being on the outside here gives me more options to run wide if there was a bit of contact or anything not going to plan, let's say. So yeah, by going on the outside, it's a bit safer for a situation and a position that I don't necessarily 100% need right now. I would just want to be ahead of him, but I don't need to be ahead of him. With that being said, now we're on lap 7. You can see now the hard tyres are starting to work a bit better, and Ruben Brendon is going to get hung out to dry on the outside curve there, and we're going to pick up momentum, traction, and we're going to be drawing alongside him. Thomas pulls into the inside to give us slipstream, and that is just enough to give us a bit of momentum, and now we're back into our original starting position here on P6 on the hard compound tyres. Lap 8 starting lap 9, and you can see all carnage is starting to unfold up ahead, and people almost going 3 wide. Look, Thomas is going to have a big old snap of oversteer, and yeah, I'm watching this all at the moment, so you can see I'm going to hang back, give them some space. Ghosting is turned off in this race, so it's very easy to lose your wing fighting a position, or if a car spins ahead of you, you won't be saved by the ghosting system. So you have to make sure that you build in a buffer to not get involved in that unnecessary collision. With that also being said, Jarno is quite close behind us right now, and you can see Jarno, Lucas behind us on the hard compound tyre as well, as now people are starting to box. And I'm going to be taking my opportunity to get ahead of Pookie around the outside, catch him by surprise, and clean around the outside in turn 1. You're going to hear my reaction? You hear a little yeehaw from the car, because that was quite a nice overtake. I enjoyed that very much. To catch him a little bit by surprise using my battery late on the straight, and able to carry that momentum around the apexes of turn 1 and turn 2. You can see Joris now boxes, and we are going to be having only Fredrik Rasmussen staying out on the medium compound tyres up ahead of us, but he soon dials into the box as well, and it's left to be a 1-2 with me and Thomas in this race. So what we're going to start doing is swapping the positions and using each other's DRS to gain free lap time down the straight, and try to make our strategy even more powerful compared to the people who have tried to undercut us anyway. Something that I'm very careful of is Jarno, though. Jarno, we all know how smart Jarno is in his racing, and he's definitely going to try and get ahead of one of us in these few laps anyway by using his battery.
I think Jarno will try to get one.
And just like magic, he's right on cue, I should say. He tries to go around the outside of Thomas. I go a little bit wide just by mistake, so I threw the car in too deep and was a bit distracted by them battling. So I think Jarno had to avoid me because of that, and then fell back behind Thomas. So was really lucky, to be honest, in that situation, because it was just a mistake on my part, but somehow that situation just worked out very well for the both of us. In kick, of course, for Jarno not so much, but Jarno's going to rectify that situation anyway, and he's back up into P2. Lap 17 here now, and this was my box-in lap, and you can see Jarno's all over the back of us, so we didn't really have much choice but to box on this lap, otherwise we would have lost track position to Jarno anyway. Big snap of oversteer, going into the pit lane and getting it slowed down, and just at 47 miles an hour. Get the pull into the pit lane perfect at the optimal turning point, and now we are really strapping on a fresh set of medium tyres.
And yeah, just keep me updated over this stint where
you
Lucas
can
is in
hear
that
me
train.
asking to be updated where Lucas is in the train, because I knew that he was on the medium compound tyres, I knew that he undercutted us, and I knew that he's going to be flying through the pack, and catching him will be critical. And you can see now we come out into the pit lane and a load of clean air, P14 on track, but it's not that far to the leading train. We can see the leading train here as well for what is the hypothetical race lead here in Japan. You can see Ruben goes a little bit wide here, and we are going to set up an absolute monster of an overtake. We see him slow on the exit, we use the overtake button, and we are just going to commit to the inside, send it down the inside, and yeah, that move was my favourite of the race, and I have to say it also takes two to tango. So Ruben did a nice job there for me anyway, so I'm really happy that he was able to recognise that I was not backing off and was yeah, giving me the corner. So yeah, it takes two to tango in these situations, and really helped me out anyway. So yeah, it was a nice overtake, but also Ruben made it possible, so also credit to Ruben in that situation. Big kiss off the curb on the inside, bit of a snap oversteer, and this is where it could be really difficult in a race to judge. You can see now Julian and Josh up ahead. I can see that Julian is losing DRS to the cars ahead, so I do not use my battery here, because I knew that they're going to be slow and they're going to be fighting each other for the DRS detection point. They go side by side through the chicane, and this just sets up an opportunity for me to have easy traction all over the back of Josh. We swapped to the inside. I knew Julian does not have the DRS, so all we had to do was overtake Josh on this straight, and we are going to be making up two more positions. Leave the inside open for Josh as well, so he doesn't get squeezed behind Julian. And now we are up into P7 once the pit stops have fiddled out, and P6 of Eurus is just up ahead down the inside, and we get the car nicely stopped at the apex here on lap 20. Only 7 laps to go, and we're already seeing the race leaders. Tom Manny does a big weave down the straight, and I think that was just to indicate for us to go past, what we do graciously, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you, Tom, for making my life a bit easy in that situation and not overly fighting us. Lap 21 now, you can see our tyres are still absolutely lovely in this race. All over the back of Pookie is on the hard compound tyres. You can see we can pick whatever line we want through this section of corners and it still end up all over the back of him. But we are not able to replicate the move that we did on Ruben, and Pookie was using a bit more overtake button down that straight, and just, yeah, didn't open the door for us, so we couldn't make that happen. But we are going to open the door ourselves. We look down the inside and we just absolutely fire one to the apex, and we get it done. A bit of a tap on the apex, but I think was all fair and square. I didn't really run into him. We just
a little tap
touched
in the
wheels,
middle, but that
basically.
should be alright, guys.
And you can hear me just asking my engineers just to have a sanity check, basically, to ensure that I did not do anything that would upset the stewards. So if then that situation is always better just to give back the place immediately and then re-attack, regain the position, rather than taking a 5-second penalty in the stewards for very little reason. And now on lap 22, this, to be honest, is where the race is going to go downhill. You can see Frederick gets a big old snap, and we react immediately. Just like I say, being aware that ghosting is turned off, we can have a big instant if we're not careful. Down the inside of Freddy, though, we're trying to make the move work. He leaves us the space on the inside, and that is fantastic racing between the two of us. And now this is where it doesn't get so good, and this is really where it's going to be a bit more controversial. I feel like Freddie moved in the braking.
Man, he moved in the braking
I feel like
zone.
Freddie moved in the braking zone, and now I'm just trying to get out the way of the cars. So you can see now I recognize that I have front wing damage. I turn off the overtake button, and I'm just trying to get out the way of people. You can see I try to hold the inside line at the moment, just to stay out the way. We actually end up using too much curve on the inside and we spin. That wasn't good. But right now, I take the responsibility in the race. You hear what I say here?
No, I don't think
you hear me saying it was my mistake in the race. What also partly was true, I think. I also want to take accountability for my actions, especially in the race, rather than just going around blaming other people and being a clown and throwing out insults. And yeah, it's just like, makes good TikTok content, but it's not really the person that I want to be. So in hindsight, I do feel like Freddie moved a little bit, but it's in the stewards at the moment, so whatever happens will be whatever happens between the stewards, and if Freddie gets a penalty, we'll boost us up some positions. If he doesn't, I'll understand what the rule book is a bit better. So yeah, it's racing at the end of the day, and like you saw in the moment, I'm not going to sit there and just call people idiots. I'm not going to be like a clown. I'm not going to be like making ridiculous insults, because yeah, it's just, like I say, good for TikTok, but not really what I want to do. But with that being said though, even with 38% damage on the front wing, we are still fighting for P5 in this race. Thomas is up behind us as well. He had a small collision with Pookie, what meant he spun on the hairpin, so he's behind us by 1.7 seconds. Going into the final lap, it's me versus Tom Manley to try and pick up P5 in this race. We have dropped out of the DRS of the cars ahead, so it's going to be very difficult to catch them because of the damage, but we're going to be riding on board for the full duration of the final lap here in Japan. You can see we cannot even turn the car anymore. It's so little on the front grip, and you can see just understeering throughout the first section, just losing time, hand over fist to Pookie up ahead, to Lucas as well, and you can see the cars driving off into the distance. Tom Manley all over the back of us, and we're trying to desperately recharge our battery because we know that we're going to be under attack into the chicane on the final lap of the race. And yeah, this is going to be pretty intense. You can see I'm using every opportunity I can to try and save any battery, get all the best exits from the corners possible. You can see squaring off the exit early back on the power, using up as much traction as possible, and through spoon curve it's going to be very difficult with the understeer that we have to try and maximize it. But I have a strategy of the battery. You can see we go through spoon, make sure that we're gonna get a good exit. We square off the exit as much as possible. We do not turn on the overtake button yet. We wait for him to actually overtake us, and then we turn on the overtake button now, because it's easier to attack than it is to defend in this final chicane. So you can see now we're on the attack. We look to the outside, look to the inside, we distract him enough. He goes wide, and we're going to be able to regain that track position by the strategy that we use with the battery to be on the attack rather than to defend. And even with the front wing damage, we have come across the line in P5 in this race. And yeah, it might be more. It might be more if people get some penalties up ahead. So literally, Pookie, Lucas, and Freddie are in the steward investigation at the moment. So we might even end up P2 in this race. We'll have to see over these next few days when the steward investigations and the results of PSGL actually happen. But yeah, we could actually end up P2. Probably a bit unrealistic, but still, even to be at worst P5. With a broken front wing for like 5-6 laps at the end of the race with 38% damage is still, for me, a fantastic result. You know, it could have been so much worse. We could have been out of the points even, but to still come home with a decent haul of points and not lose too much ground in the championship, even before the steward investigation, I'm really happy with. So yeah, we're building, we're getting there, we're really in a good stride at the moment, basically consistently fighting for the podium every single race that we're doing on this game so far. So yeah, I'm happy, we're making good progress. Our qualifying performance is getting stronger, and yeah, we're in a good stride at the moment, so we're going to look to keep that going and maximize it as time goes on. With that being said, depending on the steward investigation, if Lucas gets a penalty, I think we'll be P2 in the championship. If Lucas doesn't get a penalty, we're going to be P3 in the Drivers' Championship. So, still looking very good, all to play for, a lot of time to go in the championship. So yeah, I very much look forward to the remainder of the races, and hopefully F1 Esports will be starting soon. With that being said, glad to Lazzi, and I will catch you in the next video. I'm going to be at Zandvoort over this weekend, so yeah, should be nice. I'll maybe post some stuff over on socials and blah blah blah. But yeah, should be a nice time, and eat some stroopwafels, and I will catch you in the next video. Glad to Lazzi. Ciao ciao, bye bye.